So the Thursday evening tradition continues. I think it's great that we've carried it going every Thursday. We promised, rather adventurously, The Hurricane by Bob Dylan on account of its fittingness, suitability to the sort of current debates around Black Lives Matter. So it's really, I think, a song that works in that way. You can't really do a Bob Dylan song without a harmonica. But also this song really needs a violin. So we need not just a harmonica player, we need a harmonica player who can play his harmonica like a violin. And I only know one person who's capable of that feat, and that is Billy. So he's very kindly come along to do the impossible. It's his favourite song. Well, and we dedicate it to you. Those of you who don't know the song, be aware it's a long song. It's an epic song. It tells a story. So there's something like 11 verses, I think. Say that again. It's the longest day, so. Good point, Peter. We've got plenty of daylight, so there's not a problem. Pistol shots ring out in a barroom night. Enter Patty Valentine from the other hall. She sees a bartender in a pool of blood. Cries out, my God, they've killed them all. Here comes the story of the hurricane. The man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been champion of the world. Two bodies lying there for Patty to see, and another man named Bello moving around mysteriously. I didn't do it, he says, and he throws up his hands. I was only robbing the register. I hope you understand. I saw him leave and he says, and he stops. One of us had better call up the cops. And so Patty calls the cops. And they arrive on the scene with their red lights flashing in a hot New Jersey night. Meanwhile, far away in another part of town, Reuben Carter and a couple of friends are out driving around. Number one contender for the middleweight crown had no idea what kind of shit was about to go down when the cops pull him over to the side of the road. Just like the time before and the time before that. In Patterson, that's just the way things go. If you're black, you might as well not show up on the streets unless you want to draw the heat. Arthur Bello had a partner and he had a rap for the cops. Him and Arthur Dexter Bradley, they were just out prowling around. They said they saw two men running out who seemed like middleweights. They jumped into a white car with out-of-state plates. And Miss Patty Valentine, she just nodded her head. The cops said, wait a minute, boys, this one's not dead. So they took him to the infirmary. And though this man could barely see, they told him he could identify the guilty man.
morning and they hauled Reuben in. They took him to the hospital and they brought him upstairs. The wounded man looked up through his one dying eye, said, "What do you bring him in here for? He ain't the guy." Here comes the story of the hurricane, the man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. Four months later and the ghettos are in flame. Reuben's in South America, he's fighting for his name. Arthur Dexter Bradley's still in the robbery game, and the cops are putting the screws on him, looking for somebody to blame. Remember that murder that happened in a bar? Remember that you said you saw the getaway car? You think you like to play ball with the law? Think it might have been that fighter that you saw running that night. Don't forget that you were white. Arthur Dexter Bradley says, "I'm really not sure. The cops said a poor boy like you could use a break. We've got you for that motel job and we're talking to your friend Bello. You don't want to have to go to jail. Be a nice fellow. I'll be doing society a favor. That son of a bitch is brave and getting braver. We want to put his ass in stern. We want to pin this triple murder on him. He ain't no gentleman Jim." Reuben could take a man out with just one punch, but he never liked to talk about it all that much. "It's my work," he'd say, "and I do it for pay. And when it's all over, I'd just as soon go on my way up to some paradise where the trout streams flow and the air is nice, and ride a horse along the trail." But then they took him to a jailhouse where they tried to turn a man into a mouse. All of Reuben's cards, they were marked in advance. The trial was a pig circus, he never stood a chance. The judge made Reuben's witnesses drunkards from the slums. To the white folks who watched, he was a revolutionary bum. And to the black folks, he was just a crazy nigger. Nobody doubted that he'd pull the trigger, and though they could not produce the gun, the DA said he was the one who did the deed, and the all-white jury agreed. Reuben Carter was falsely tried. The trial was murder one, and guess who testified? Bello and Bradley, and they both falsely lied. The newspapers, they all went along for the ride. How can the life of such a man be in the palm of some fool's hands? To see him obviously framed couldn't help but make me feel ashamed to live in a land where justice is a game. Now all the criminals in their coats and their ties. They're free to drink martinis and watch the sunrise, while Reuben sits like Buddha in a 10-foot cell, an innocent man in a living hell. Yeah, that's the story of the hurricane, and it won't be over till they clear his name and give him back the time he's done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. Thank you, Monica and Billy.